In the final, brutal months of World War II, a secret drama was unfolding in the heart of the Philippines. It was a story born from one of the darkest chapters of the war, the fall of Bataan in 1942. After a valiant but hopeless defense, tens of thousands of American and Filipino soldiers were surrendered to the Japanese, and what followed was an atrocity that shocked the world. The infamous Bataan Death March was a 65-mile forced journey of starvation, torture, and summary executions. The men who survived this ordeal were herded into squalid, disease-ridden prison camps. By January 1945, over 500 of these survivors, the ghosts of Bataan, were languishing in a camp near the city of Cabanatuan, their bodies broken but their spirits, somehow, intact. These were not just prisoners. They were living witnesses to some of the worst war crimes of the Pacific Theater. They had endured 3 years of hell, clinging to the hope of liberation. But as American forces began their triumphant return to the Philippines, that hope was about to be extinguished by a final, desperate act of Japanese cruelty. As General Douglas MacArthur's forces stormed the beaches of Luzon, the Japanese High Command issued a chilling and barbaric decree. Fearing that liberated prisoners would testify to their atrocities, they sent out a kill-all order. All remaining Allied POWs were to be executed to eliminate any witnesses. This was not an idle threat. At another camp on Palawan Island, 150 American prisoners had already been herded into trenches, doused with gasoline, and burned alive. The men at Cabanatuan were next. The camp's commander was preparing to carry out the order as soon as the advancing American army got too close. The prisoners, who had survived so much for so long, were now living on borrowed time. They were trapped, defenseless, and facing certain death within a matter of days. A ticking clock had begun. The race to save the prisoners of Cabanatuan was on, but the camp was located 30 miles deep behind enemy lines, surrounded by thousands of Japanese troops. Any rescue attempt would be a suicide mission, a desperate gamble against impossible odds. The fate of the Cabanatuan prisoners rested on the shoulders of one man, General Douglas MacArthur. When intelligence reports confirmed the impending massacre, he refused to abandon his men. He issued one of the most audacious and seemingly impossible commands of the entire war. He ordered a rescue. He tasked the U.S. Sixth Army with assembling a small, elite force to infiltrate 30 miles into enemy territory, assault a heavily guarded prison camp, and bring over 500 men back alive. It was a mission that defied all conventional military logic. The risks were astronomical, and the chances of success were perilously slim. This was not a mission for a conventional army. It required a new kind of soldier, one who could move like a ghost, strike with the speed of a viper, and vanish into the night. It was a mission that would serve as a blueprint for the special operations of the future, a mission that would fall to a hand-picked group of elite American warriors. The unit chosen for this impossible task was the 6th Ranger Battalion. The U.S. Army Rangers were a new breed of soldier in World War II, specially trained for high-risk, behind-the-lines operations. They were light infantry specialists, experts in reconnaissance, raiding, and unconventional warfare. They were the men who were sent in when the situation was at its most desperate. Their commander was Lieutenant Colonel Henry Mucci, a tough, demanding, and brilliant leader who had personally molded the 6th Rangers into a formidable fighting force. Mucci handpicked a company of 120 of his best men for the mission, led by Captain Robert Prince, a quiet, intelligent officer who would be responsible for devising the complex plan of attack. These were the chosen few, the men entrusted with the lives of 500 of their countrymen. They knew the risks. They knew that many of them would likely not return. But they also knew that they were the prisoners' only hope, and they accepted the mission without hesitation. The Rangers would not be going in alone. Their success depended on a crucial, unseen network of allies who were already operating deep within the shadows of the Japanese occupation. The first were the Filipino guerrilla fighters, fierce and determined resistance soldiers who knew the local terrain and the enemy's movements intimately. Led by Captain Juan Pajoda, the guerrillas provided the on-the-ground intelligence that was essential for planning the raid. They scouted the camp, mapped out Japanese patrols, and pledged their own men to support the American assault. They would serve as a blocking force, holding off any Japanese reinforcements while the Rangers stormed the camp. The second key ally was U.S. Navy intelligence, which provided aerial reconnaissance photos and detailed maps of the area. This combination of high-tech intelligence and human, on-the-ground sources gave Captain Prince the information he needed to craft a daring and intricate plan of attack. The infiltration into enemy territory was a masterpiece of stealth and endurance. For 2 days, the Rangers and their Filipino allies marched through jungle and grassland, carefully evading Japanese patrols. The final, most perilous part of their journey was a 1-mile crawl across a wide, open field in broad daylight, directly in sight of the prison camp. This audacious maneuver was only possible thanks to a brilliant piece of deception. As the Rangers began their slow, agonizing crawl on their stomachs, a P-61 Black Widow night fighter, requested by Mucci, roared overhead. The pilot put the plane through a series of dramatic aerial stunts, feigning engine trouble to draw the attention of every Japanese guard in the camp. For what felt like an eternity, the guards stared at the sky, mesmerized by the aerial display, completely oblivious to the 120 American soldiers slithering through the grass just a few hundred yards away. It was a nerve-wracking gamble that paid off, allowing the Rangers to get into position undetected. As dusk settled on January 30, 1945, the Rangers were in position, their hearts pounding in the final, tense moments before the assault. The plan Captain Prince had devised was one of surgical precision. The raid would not begin with a loud explosion, but with the quiet, simultaneous crack of 2 rifle shots. At 7:40 p.m., on Prince's signal, 2 of the best snipers in the Ranger unit fired in perfect unison. From hundreds of yards away, their bullets found their marks, taking out the guards in the main watchtowers at the front of the camp. At the exact same moment, the Filipino guerrillas opened fire on the Japanese positions at the rear of the camp, creating a powerful diversion. This coordinated, multi-pronged attack sowed immediate chaos and confusion among the Japanese defenders. They were being hit from multiple directions at once, their leadership eliminated in the opening seconds of the fight. The gates to the camp were now vulnerable. With the towers down, the main assault force of the Rangers stormed the front gate, overwhelming the remaining guards in a furious charge. They poured into the compound, their mission singular: get to the prisoners. The firefight was intense but brief. The Rangers, masters of close-quarters combat, moved with a speed and ferocity that the Japanese defenders could not match. Inside their barracks, the emaciated POWs were initially terrified, believing the Japanese were beginning their execution. But when they saw the American uniforms and heard the familiar accents shouting, "Get ready to move. We're here to get you out," their despair turned to stunned disbelief and overwhelming joy. In under 30 minutes, the entire raid was over. The Rangers had secured the camp, eliminated the Japanese garrison, and freed over 500 prisoners. Many of the POWs were so weak they had to be carried on the backs of the Rangers or on makeshift stretchers. The first part of the miracle was complete. The journey back was just as perilous as the journey in. The Rangers, now burdened with hundreds of weak and sick men, had to make the 30-mile trek back to friendly lines. The Filipino guerrillas proved invaluable once again, providing a rear guard and procuring local water buffalo and carts to transport the weakest prisoners. This ghost caravan moved through the night, a testament to the courage and determination of both the rescuers and the rescued. They successfully evaded Japanese patrols and, against all odds, delivered every single one of the 513 liberated prisoners safely back to American lines. The raid was a stunning success, with only 2 Rangers killed in the assault. However, freedom came at a tragic cost. In retaliation for the raid, Japanese forces later swept through the local villages, executing dozens of Filipino civilians whom they suspected of aiding the Americans. These forgotten civilian heroes paid the ultimate price for their role in one of history's greatest rescues. In the immediate aftermath, the full story of the Cabanatuan raid was suppressed by U.S. command to protect ongoing intelligence operations. It wasn't until 1948 that the official reports were released. By then, the world had moved on, and this incredible mission largely faded from public memory, overshadowed by the grander battles of the war. But in the world of special operations, the raid became a legend. Once declassified, it was, and still is, studied by elite units like the Navy SEALs as a masterclass in hostage rescue. The core principles of the Cabanatuan raid: deep infiltration, reliance on local intelligence, surgical precision, and overwhelming speed are the very foundation of modern Special Forces doctrine. Elements of this ghost raid can be seen in famous operations throughout modern history, from the Israeli raid on Entebbe to the Navy SEAL operation that found Osama bin Laden. The raid at Cabanatuan stands as one of the most successful and influential hostage rescues in military history, a testament to the courage of the Rangers, the bravery of the Filipino guerrillas, and the enduring spirit of the prisoners who never gave up hope.